Hey everyone, David Cottingham from In the Comics, and I'm Chad Perkins from the 21 Network.
Hello.
And we are doing the top 5 comic book crossovers that probably should not have happened. Chad, what do you got for the number 1?
Okay, well, these are in no particular order, but this one might be the most ridiculous. I don't know. Just to tell you, we've got 2 involving the Punisher. First one is Eminem and the Punisher. Volume 1, number 1.
Eminem the rapper.
Eminem the rapper. Okay, and unlike some crossovers, this one had Eminem's full permission, or the person who's doing the crossover's full permission, which means he probably had a lot of input on the story, and that's why the story is so ridiculous. Okay, so it starts out, Eminem has just finished a concert in Detroit. The Punisher shows up and mauls down his bodyguards, straight up kills them. Eminem... but I think he's like running away. But anyway, Barracuda, who is like a Punisher villain, shows up and pulls Eminem aside. So M thinks this guy is saving him from the Punisher. But actually, what it turns out is Barracuda was hired by the Parents Music Council to murder him, to murder Eminem.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but at this point, he still thinks Barracuda has saved him. So he goes with Barracuda to this house where they wait for Punisher to come, and Eminem ambushes him, pistol whips Punisher, and shoots him in the chest, which just knocks him out, apparently. But Barracuda then turns on Eminem, shoots him in a non-vital organ, which causes him just to be knocked out, to pass out. They wake up on a ship that is in the ocean, but it happens to be also freezing water, like frozen ice water. Get into that in a second. They manage to get out of the chains. Eminem jumps off the ship, lands on solid ice, and runs away. Punisher and Barracuda start to fight. Eminem runs into an ice fisherman who is a fan of his, and he's like, yo, let me borrow your chainsaw, because he had a chainsaw to cut a hole in the ice. So he takes the chainsaw back and uses the chainsaw to kill Barracuda.
Wow.
And then the Punisher sails off, now on water, leaving Eminem on the ice, saying, well, I'm going to go take care of the Parents Music Council because hiring an assassin to kill you is wrong. And he's like, you tell him that Shady sent you.
Wow. All right.
What do you got?
All right.
What do you got?
Yeah, the second one. Basically, it's Superman and everybody, because Superman has been in a lot of crossovers.
Yeah.
Now we've kind of got a list here going. One is He-Man, one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, the most strong
up.
dudes.
Absolutely.
But how does he not pummel him?
Well, because Skeletor puts a spell on him.
Magic.
I mean, y'all know magic is besides kryptonite.
Yeah.
How you kill Superman or hurt him? Magic.
Magic.
So he puts a spell on him after he falls through this vortex, obviously, and lands in Eternia.
Of course.
Gets a spell put on him and then makes him fight He-Man.
Oh, man.
Other crossovers of Superman that are kind of out there, he actually runs into aliens from Aliens. The Xeno, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Xenomorphs or something like that. He's happens to be on an asteroid away from the sun, so that's why he doesn't have his powers. Fights the aliens. Ends up in some jungle at some point later. Again, doesn't have his powers. Comes across Predator. So he's had these different crossovers. And then, of course, there's also a Batman Superman versus Alien Predator. Again, he doesn't have his powers. They're in some active volcano that keeps him having his powers. Anyway.
A volcano keeps Superman from having his powers?
I don't know. That's just what the book said.
All
but anyway, he's apparently... Somehow he has these crossovers, and he doesn't ever have his powers.
Of course, otherwise he would just pummel people.
I guess. Them. Yeah. So the biggest one, though, and you mentioned they actually had this comic on Comic Book Men.
Yeah.
Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
In a boxing match that takes place on a different planet that has a red sun, so he doesn't have his powers.
Sure. So it's man versus man.
So it's straight up boxing fight.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: is that what's weird is that. When they talked about doing this, Muhammad Ali was the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world.
A bad man.
In 1977, And of course, this book got delayed, so it didn't come out till 78 when he had already lost
Oh.
to Leon Spinks.
Oh.
So he was not the champ at the time that this actually came out. So I'm not
time.
really sure how big it, I don't know if it really hurt, but anyway, it didn't really help. But like you said, it was on Comic Book, and they said it sold pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's one of those giant size books.
Yes.
It's a bigger format book.
Should we say who won?
Yeah. Oh, spoilers. Go for it.
Muhammad Ali knocks Superman out, apparently.
Yeah, on Comic Book Man, they show the last panel. And it's a pretty gruesome. I mean, Superman's beat up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess no powers. I mean, the boxer's probably going to win. I mean, the heavyweight champ, I mean,
Yeah.
Superman, whatever. So, anyway, who else you got?
It's a team up with the X-Men. Not unusual, but it's Star Trek.
Yeah, that is unusual.
It's a 1996 one-shot that, now, this isn't so unusual because Star Trek has time travel to present day before.
Yes,
because
right.
Obviously you got two different timelines here. So that's happened before, but somehow they still managed to completely F up continuity, and the story was just terrible. But there were some things that were...
Now, who time travels in that?
I think the
Star Trek comes back?
The Enterprise
Yes.
travels to the X-Men's current time. But there are some constants. The first one is with Captain Kirk, and he's still hitting on every alien, every non-human person. I think it was Jean Grey. This one he's trying to get with. But Spock versus Wolverine. Spock wins. Neck pinch. Vulcan nerve pinch. He's out.
Wow.
They did this a second time. They came out with another one, different Star Trek crew. This one with Picard, I think. Mm-hmm. But it was still too early for people to make a connection with him being Professor X, basically, and being Picard later on. That it was a couple years before people could make that connection because the movie hadn't come out yet. But again, Wolverine gets beaten by Spock for the second time.
Wow.
Second time, and he doesn't retaliate or whatever. There's also a part where Gladiator punches the Enterprise. This still went on to have a book written about it, but generally it's said to be just a terrible story, just not the best story. So X-Men and Star Trek.
Wow. Okay, so the next one that I got sounds like it should work. And it's something that I think a lot of fans were screaming about, but it's the JLA of DC crossing over with the Avengers of Marvel. Now you say DC sweet. Marvel? Well, how did they do that? Well, it's funny because they've been developing this apparently since 79. Wow. And under the creative team of writer Gary Conway and artist George Perez. It had a scheduled publication date of 1983, but a lot of behind-the-scenes disputes apparently caused it to get scrapped, so it never happened.
Sure.
But 2 decades later, Perez actually, again, teamed up with then Avengers writer Kurt Busiek, finally put JLA Avengers out, ran from 2003 to 2004. Now, at that time, if I recall, this is around the time of, I want to say it's around the time of Final Crisis or Countdown to Crisis, stuff like that that's happening in the DC universe. I'm not sure whether or not this is actually continuity or not. I'm assuming it's not.
Yeah.
But and I think it was like you mentioned. I think they formed a separate company to create this. Mm-hmm. So it was just a limited series. Obviously, it didn't
just a
really,
one shot.
Yeah, a couple one shot. I think it was 4-part series is what it was. So, but anyway, there's because think about it as JLA. There was a lot of members of the Justice League then, and a lot of secondary characters, which I think this had a lot of involved with. Because what I'm reading here, there really is no mention really of Superman and Batman and all those guys. It had a lot to do with apparently a Grand Master. The Grand Master, I don't know who that is. I think he's a Marvel guy, but apparently, there is a mention of Kyle Rayner's power battery. There's one of the there's 12 artifacts that have to be collected for some reason. In order to save the universe, 12 items of power, and one of them is the power battery of Kyle Rayner. Not Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner.
Okay.
So anyway, there were 6 Marvel items and 6 DC items. So some of the Marvel items were like the Evil Eye of Avalon, the Casket of Ancient Winters.
Okay.
Yeah. The Cosmic Cube. I know what that is.
Yes.
So anyway, so those were some of the things. So apparently that was the whole thing, was they had to find each. Justice League basically shows up in the Marvel universe. Marvel guys show up in the DC universe, and they have to find the artifacts in order to save the universe. So anyway.
So yeah, I mean that could actually be a cool story. But it's a pity.
It is.
Direct competitors. It didn't work,
Right.
and that one probably falls under the crossover you probably never heard about.
Right.
Might be cool.
The series apparently was a hit, though.
Yeah.
But of course, there were still conflicts going on behind the scenes,
and it's never happened since.
Never happened since.
All right. Well, in the top of this video, we said there was 2 Punisher titles in this, and
this has got to be the weirdest one.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely the oddest. This is Punisher and Archie.
Archie
Comics.
I didn't know Archie was just a badass.
Well, so this was a 1994 one-shot, and it brought together Riverdale's favorite teens with the Vietnam vet who kills people with guns, the Punisher. So this is how the story goes. The government hires the Punisher to capture, not kill, he has to capture a notorious drug dealer named Red, who is hiding in Riverdale. That's the setting of Archie Comics. Red looks exactly like Archie. Okay?
Wow.
Comedy ensues. So the Punisher is basically undercover at their high school as a phys ed teacher. Grabs Archie by mistake, thinking it's Red. Meanwhile, Red is being mistaken by Archie's friends as Archie. Comedy ensues, I'm sure. Basically, the comic ends with a tease to a Wolverine Jughead crossover, but that never happened. We're still waiting for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't
That
happen.
That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen.
That won't happen. So, Punisher and Archie. I mean, really all you have to say is Punisher and Archie.
Yeah,
so.
Very horrible. Okay. So anyway, those were our 5 comic book crossovers that probably should not have happened. Yeah. For more on this topic and the crossovers in general, check out inthecomics.com in issue 25.
That's
Crossing Over.
Yeah. And in the future, in the coming weeks, for more on crossovers from both the DC and Marvel universes that were actually good, keep it locked to this YouTube channel and listen to In the Comics.
That's right.